Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Um, I just bought some stuff on Craigslist, so let's see what I got. That's weird. So I got a Thermaltake Smart 80 plus. I guess this is supposed to be silver rated. Not that it really matters. 80 plus is kind of a. I'm just gonna go out and go ahead and say it. It's kind of a useless measurement and really not something you should pay attention to when buying a power supply, for the most part. Um, so yeah. Um, so for what it's worth, it looks like it's a silver rated. So it's a Thermaltake 600 watt Smart Series, which, as far as I know, smart just basically means cheap. Which doesn't necessarily mean it's an IED that you're plugging into your computer, but it's the cheap lineup from Thermaltake. Nothing special. It's the I want a power supply and I'm not willing to spend more than at most $50 for a power supply, that kind of thing. Which is fair, especially if you're on a budget. You don't want to sink half of your budget into a nice power supply, even if it isn't going to be an IED. But it's got some decent connectors. You got your 20 plus 4 ATX, you have a daisy chain 6 plus 2 times 2 PCI Express, 4 plus 4 EPS, 2 SATA power daisy chained, so you have 6 total, and then you have your standard 3 Molex with floppy connector at the end. This entire branch is on every power supply you can imagine, and I wonder when it will actually finally die. It's like super legacy. But they add it because you never know, I guess. Personally, honestly, if I needed something like this, I would just go out and buy an adapter if I really needed something. Which, speaking of which, we actually have in this here box that very thing. Look at that. Well, this one's using Molex, which defeats the argument. But you could get like a SATA to floppy connector if you really needed a floppy connector for some reason. Or if you just needed generally a Molex connector for something legacy, you could just connect a SATA to Molex. So maybe one day this entire arm of every power supply that you can imagine, like even the nicest, most expensive, most fancy ones, all have at least one of these daisy-chained Molex connectors. It's fascinating how long it's been able to stay around. In the box, so I paid $25 for this, but this came in this box, but this is actually an EVGA 850 GQ 80 plus gold rated box. I say box because there isn't actually a power supply in there. This thing was in there, but it's not actually from this thing. So I got myself a bundle of nice connectors, and I paid about $10 for it. I imagine I can get at least $10 worth of use. I need to look up whether I can, because I have a Corsair 750 watt power supply that has no cables, so I was thinking I might be able to connect these. Now, before you say that's a stupid idea, I do recognize that you can't just take any old modular cable and plug it into another power supply. However, my hypothesis, I of course need to do research. If you happen to know the answer, you can leave it in the comments down below. But my thinking is that since the Corsair unit that I bought has no cable, since it's a 750 watt and this is an 850 watt, that surely the cable should work. I would hypothesize, again, this is a hypothesis. Don't take what I'm saying here as fact. My hypothesis is that it goes one way. So if you can take higher wattage cables and put it into a lower watt power supply, but not the other way around. You can't take 500 watt modular power supply cables and put them into a 1200 watt unit. That's my assumption, but I also don't really know. And I assume that they're all fairly standard, so I could just do it. I wouldn't have to buy Corsair specific replacement cables, but I'll look into it. If not, I'm sure I can get at least $10 for this bundle of cables I paid $10 for, or something like that. Right, anyways, and then I have this thing, this computer. I paid only $10 for it, but that's because I plugged it into my testing area, and it doesn't do anything. It turns on, and that's about it, but it doesn't turn off again. And I looked at it, I saw that, come on. I saw that one of the USB ports is broken. It still appears to maybe function. At least you can plug something into it, but I don't know if it actually does anything. Which is really unfortunate, as we're going to see why. And it's really unfortunate. It's kind of hard to close up. But it's kind of unfortunate, like really unfortunate, because this thing has by default only 4 USB ports. Now, I suppose you could also adapt those to, I have adapters, so I suppose you could also make use of those, and you're going to want to, because with only, assuming that front one doesn't work, that means this thing only has 5 USB ports, which is not amazing at all. Now, luckily this thing has a USB expansion card in it. Mind you, depending on the uses and potential, I might actually switch this out with a low profile graphics card, but I'm not entirely sure about the internal connectors or anything else. It's some sort of Thermaltake mini PC, that's all I can tell. Or maybe not mini, but slim PC. So, yeah, but with this expansion card in here, giving an additional 4, and then you have at least 1 on the front, I'd imagine. That at least 1 on the front works. Not the broken one, maybe, but at least there was at least 1 that looked fine. That's 2, that's 6, and the front one is 7, and adapt these 2 and you get 9. So because of this expansion card and adapters for this thing, it's a lot nicer of a situation. But, I mean, it only has 1 singular VGA port, which is A, VGA, so, I mean, yeah. But B, can't support dual monitor. So I'm thinking about maybe getting some sort of low profile graphics card if I can for this. Because with these adapted, I could probably get enough USBs out of this thing to make it realistic. But I might also put like a gigabit Ethernet, because I don't know what kind of Ethernet that is, but it might only be like 10100. And in that case, it might be worth investing in like gigabit Ethernet or something. It kind of depends on what I can do with this thing. I don't know its specs or what kind of upgrades it can have. I don't know if it could even be vaguely considered to be brought to a part where it could do any sort of gaming. I mean, it has an Intel Atom inside. So part of what I do with this thing will depend on what's inside and what I can do with it. I might try and sell it online as an exceedingly budget gaming computer if I could put, say, like, I don't know, gigabit Ethernet adapter in there, or maybe like a super low profile graphics card, low wattage as well. Something like that, Radeon, whatever it is. I know there's like a really super low profile Radeon card. It's like $150. And since I paid 10 for this thing, it could only be like $160. $160 for a gaming computer. Throw an SSD in there for like, I don't know, an extra 20 or something. And yeah, you definitely got yourself a very budget gaming computer. But I don't know. It depends on the kind of specs it has when I open it up. But at the very least, it can be used as an office computer and can maybe do some very light gaming. We will see. We will see indeed. I suppose I could also maybe just plug in an external GPU into it. We'll see. I'll have some fun with this thing, I think. But it doesn't actually work, unfortunately. When I plugged it in, it doesn't seem to work. So I'm going to have to open it up and see what's going on with the insides. But I'll keep you posted on the progress of this computer. In terms of the channel, I suppose I should give a small channel update. I'm going to be leaving the country in about 2 weeks, and I will not be back for another 3 months. I'll be in Sweden, so I probably won't have any sort of videos coming out for the next 3 months. Well, for the next 2 weeks, 3 months. So in 2 weeks for about 3 months. So expect some videos here and there for the next 2 weeks, but I will make a little update video before I go and let you know when that's going to be, and letting you know that I will not be making any videos for the next 3 months. So just letting you know about that. Likely anyways. I might make a video here and there, but probably not. We'll see. Still not even really sure what I'm doing with this channel. it's sort of all over the place. I guess it's kind of transitioned into mostly tech stuff, but yeah, whatever. It's fun, I think, anyways. And hopefully it's enjoyable for all of you to watch my Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace escapades. See what I get. Oh, and also, we'll put a little update to this graphics card that I got. And so this thing doesn't work. When it does manage to work, it has two gigantic green bars down the side. No, down the middle. So I think it might be a driver problem, but it doesn't even work in 95% of the systems I plug it into. And I noticed yesterday that there was a lot of gunk between these small capacitors, I think those are. I'm not really an electrician, but I noticed that there was a lot of gunk buildup, and so I cleaned it out, a lot of that gunk. And so now I'm just hoping it'll just somehow work. But I don't know. But yeah, final thoughts on this thing. I figure that I can at least get $10 out of it, even if I end up just scrapping it because it doesn't work, and taking out the hard drive and taking out the RAM and taking out the expansion card and taking out the probably very proprietary power supply that probably isn't really useful for anything. But hey, whatever. I'm sure I can get at least $10 of stuff out of this thing, even if it doesn't work. So yeah, I've been rambling enough. Talk to you all later. Bye.